only have 10 degrees percent battery, so I will try to do my best because I saw immediately it's a good time to speak. It's Saturn day Jupiter hour, with Jupiter sitting pretty in the 11th house. So this is an important message. I will try to make it concise. The moon is in the anaretic degree of Scorpio, about to ingress into Sagittarius, the moon ruling the ascendant, and Saturn sitting pretty in the ninth house. So this video comes up because I feel it is called to. I recently channeled something, and I didn't say the entire thing that I channeled regarding our future eclipses. And as a part of my channeling says, and I'm going to say it literally, and you'll soon understand why. The oceans needs the tears of the widows in the land of the pale. And I felt I don't know what am I channeling, but I felt that there was some very strong emotions. And recently I heard a wonderful artist named Indigo that is going to release a song, and they were again reiterating this, the fact that the people who created the matrix, they are pale, so the skin. And I'm feeling really, really called to say that it is so important to remember essence in our times. Because yes, Saturn rules the skin. Saturn also rules time. Pluto is in the sign of Saturn. So yes, times are changing, lineages are changing. This was just my video yesterday, songs like Beyonce, we have many, that's a lot of brown on your Forbes list. And it's wonderful to have these changes. That being said, just as I was constantly reiterating, even before the Me Too era, that this was hierarchy, it was not a gender. And so, indeed, in gender studies, there was also a case, at least one that we got to hear about, the rest we probably didn't get to hear about a woman professor or doctor sexually harassing one of her cisgender man student. Okay, so a cisgender woman harassing cisgender men, and for us that were Me Too veterans, it was like, of course, but people had treated it differently. And then eventually, when the Johnny Depp case came out, and when he was literally told, he had a recording of Amber saying, they are not going to believe you, they don't know what's energy, huh? So, of course, the essence, and when I was doing my Facebook group about gaslighting, or what we called back then narcissistic abuse, I know that people who are abusers are also like that because of childhood traumas. That being said, we needed some method to deal with that. Like, if you cross over and you are an abuser, then of course you are faced with the understanding that and sometimes even during your life, it's like not all people are happy to be abusers, okay? uh, Normally we are oriented towards desiring connection, and it's only when that is so interrupted, so severely interrupted, that people cannot find connection, do they do the aspiration to power begin to overwhelm the desire for connection. It's not about having a penis or a vagina, it's not about your hormones, it's about, do you have a clear path to connection, and how disrupted is that path? And it's not for nothing that people become vengeful when the path to connection is disrupted. So eventually, I remember we had a man speaking up that was dealing with abuse, and there was a woman who literally said, "Oh my God, there are men in this group." And not surprisingly, this woman was also the kind of woman who would force people who survived sex trafficking into work. And when I confronted her and I said, Arbeit macht frei, and she says, yes, Arbeit macht frei, and you should start at least 4 hours a day. It's like, for people who cannot, take a pencil, lift this pencil, or they have to pray to God that they get to the bathroom because they can barely carry their body to the bathroom. And it doesn't matter the gender, because they went through violence, they went through things, and the body is exhausted. Okay, then she tells them, Arbeit macht frei. And that was not surprising, because when we when we insist on form, and we all have a prejudice, okay? If you've been hurt by men, I've been hurt by a psychologist, okay? It's probably not all psychologists are child abusers or will get you to regress to child and then hurt you. But I would never be able to trust psychologists. I would never be able to go to therapy. I would never be able to do this construction and feel safe in it. Never. And I also think that we need to have alternative for people like that. So if you are hurt by men, yes, of course, you're going to consciously identify men as something that can hurt you. But we must not come to the type of position where we forget about essence. The essence is power abuse. The essence is violence. And it's not about having a woman black Hitler, okay, but rather about decentralizing structures so that um, the chance to abuse power is not that prominent, as well as facilitate connection the best we can. So um, these are the times that we are in. We're going from the Saturn of hierarchy to the Saturn of a more decentralized web. What's the essence inside this decentralized web? This is what we need to pay attention to. Okay, so form is beautiful. We appreciate form when we worship Aphrodite. We appreciate form when we have physical attraction. Okay, those of us that whose sexuality or attraction is also physically oriented. Form gives us great works of art. Essence is something that we cannot ignore. What's in there? What's underneath the form? And Pluto in Saturn sign is also asking us what's underneath the form, because Saturn is form and Pluto is injecting essence into this form. Okay? It cannot be that we preach Hitler but towards whites, because this is not the essence of true healing. And one great channel that I found on YouTube, I don't like his opinion about he makes certain things that I consider mistakes regarding fat phobia, or like he doesn't understand that people who are fat are not necessarily eating unhealthy and so on and so forth. But he gives great teachings regarding the history of, let's say, African queens, and I don't remember, his name is Nigerian, and I will try to, I think he calls himself Angry Nigerian something on YouTube, so you can look for him. And he does mention this, that we had a queen in Africa. I'm not talking about Cleopatra. We had a queen in Africa, and that she was a warrior. She was a great warrior, and she was known for her battle skills. Okay, she had a lover in every place that she conquered, and she would slaughter this lover. So this sounds like a wet feminist fantasy. It is not. She was also known for subjugating women. Okay, this is where we have to inject essence. Is it important to have as many women in the parliament as men? Yes. As many black as white? Yes. As many LGBTQ as cisgender? Absolutely. Form is important, but it cannot replace essence. Okay, is a man that says, "Oh, this lecturer that is a woman sexually harassed me," wrong? No. Should he be believed less? No. And we don't want to risk doing the same things that we say white people did, okay, and later abolished, or at least try to abolish, um, and, and have that prompting a certain aspiration to power, um, that is not, or marking people by structure, marking people by the skin, is something that, yeah, to some extent can happen. And also marking people by their religion or ancestry, because that's Saturn. This is also one of the mistakes that can be made at this time, and we don't want to make it. Okay, we want to make sure that we do not throw our we do not throw our the instinct to do good as Jupiter away to the wind, simply because, like, we want to fight injustice. We want to change. We want to change the core of it. We want to do a change that is essential, so that people have better life. Um, and this notion of, yeah, we're going to have, I don't know, let's say black people fighting whites now. Okay, but how are black people going to rule? Like, how are they going to respect, people of all kinds? And this is something that we do need to remember. Okay, and we are getting this information. At least I'm being exposed to this information at this time. And you hear me. I'm one of these voices. I was a Me Too veteran. But the fact that I was a Me Too veteran was not that I was against men, but that I saw how there's an indoctrination to psychological control that is passed through certain structures, okay, from the army to academia, private sector, and public sector. For example, our parliament people, and this is teaching that was true to then, of course, now we're changing structures. We cannot have a democracy if we expect our parliament people to have education, to have a degree, but a degree is in an institution that is patriarchal, that is church-like, okay, in its structure. And so how can you be a Democrat and have Democrat praxis when your school is not democratic? Okay? If you're not educated in a democratic way, how can you become a Democrat? Even if you are in the Democrat Party, okay, let's say the United States. You cannot study in Ivy League and be a Democrat because you were ingrained with certain indoctrination that is anti-democratic. And indeed, in our department, leftist as it was, there were many people who were from Princeton or who were from other academias, and they were not exactly supporting democracy, and they were in favor of more authoritarian or intellectual authoritarianism. There is no such thing as intellectual authoritarianism. Um, like I'm very proud of my instructor for kind of reiterating that. He came from Argentina, and he said populism is simply a leader representing the public, and you can't come with the premise that the next voter or somebody who votes differently than you is stupid. Okay, that is, and this is essential. This is essential, um, because what we need to change is, like, you want a democracy, you need to have education that is democratic. How come your leaders are not trained in democratic schools? How can they do democracy if they're not trained in democratic schooling? Okay, that was what I was reiterating. So when you see Me Too, you maybe have connotations of whatnot, but this is important for me to voice this particular thing out, so that at least if you will bother to search my videos, then you won't have the misconstruing that I'm calling you to be a Hitler. Okay, the fact that I'm warning about the possibility of a certain Hitler-like figurine, and here's figurine, and the intense violence is because this is the spirit of the times. It's not because the right thing for there to happen is this. No, the right thing for that to happen is for people to be accepting. And you know what? I praise the word tolerance. Okay, in praise of tolerance, tolerance does not mean you like. Tolerance means you accept, you bear, you tolerate. You tolerate. I am me with all that that entails. I tolerate the fact that there are communities right next to me for whom, if you would be gay or whatnot, you would be excluded or you would be sanctioned. Okay? I tolerate their existence. I don't like the fact that they are so. Would I want changes within that community? Yes, absolutely. Is it for me to change? No, it's for the people within the community to change. Um, and this is tolerance, okay? It's in praise of tolerance. It's accepting, okay? And it's tolerating that there's somebody who thinks completely different than you and lives completely different life than you, and you're tolerating them, Okay, and this is in praise of tolerance, which we need to remember. Okay, tolerance is a humanistic or womanistic concept. It is not lovey-dovey, and it is okay, because eventually those things that we tolerate, eventually we learn something from. If we tolerate a person, we can learn from them. You know, a lot of the things that I reiterate when I talk about political history or certain examples, I reiterate it from the person who tried to, basically what he tried to do was to traffic me, and when I said no, he sexually harassed me. Okay, it doesn't matter if he was attracted to me or infatuated or this or that. The way that it was not respectful to not me, and eventually not his body as well. Um, but it doesn't mean that the things that he said or the things that he was teaching that were relevant and were good examples, they were taken from places that he was taught. It doesn't mean that they would not learn from this person. Okay, it doesn't mean that I would not learn what this person has to say. It means that I am against a certain behavior that I'm intending to abolish. Okay, but I don't intend to abolish a person, I intend to abolish a behavior. And that is fiercely important. Okay, the psychologist that was hurting me, it doesn't mean that I didn't learn from him about his experience in his field. Okay, but I will defend not only myself, but by any means necessary, any child being hurt by such people, or the paradigms that would hurt the people and are not even paradigms, they're just an illusion of a discourse that is made to reduce the validity of people who speak up against violence. Okay, this is not scientific discourse, it has no merit per se, and that's something that I do tend to. So tolerance is very important. Okay, we can learn from people that are even enemies. Um, we can learn from everyone, and we need to have the appraisal for tolerance, because eventually that is what speaks for itself. This is why I can say, okay, I am a woman or a man and a woman. I am secular and possibly atheist. I'm spiritual. I study my own way. I work in my own structure, and I deserve a right to live. And that entails resources. That entails things that that both I and society pay taxes for. Okay, if I tolerate you, and I don't go out and kill you, okay, I will abolish a behavior, but I will not, like, it's not against you as a person per se. You know, you must tolerate me. You must tolerate me, and this tolerance, it entails resources. It entails land, it entails money, it entails medication, that in the way I see fit, it entails food, okay? Just as this entails those same resources to you. Okay, I don't intend to deprive you of your resources. That being said, it shouldn't be a situation where I have to protect myself from you or I have to defend myself from you. This is a no-no. Like that's not going to be. Like you're not going to threaten my existence. Okay? And that's important, because this is the essence. The essence is that we want to live and we want to exist. And the essence is that we do need divergence. We do need divergence. We cannot survive without divergence. And that entails tolerance towards people that is not that easy. Okay, it's not just sympathy, it's not just radical acceptance. It's just there are certain people who believe certain things, and then you tolerate them, but the behaviors must not be tolerated if they are endangering freedom and safety of people. And that is the essence. Okay, yes, Black Lives Matters, all life matters. You can't put a skin, genitalia, a religious belief. People will gaslight on anything. Okay, I had volitional, consensual, astral sex with my psychologist before he was violent. Okay, I was just saying, okay, I understand that I have these things that I need to heal about myself, and it so happened that he got infatuated and I was responsive to that. So who had the countertransference now? The patient in this case. But the thing is that even that went wrong. Okay, I was looking for how do I have the sex that I feel good before, during, and after, and for a while I've had it, and then he became violent. Okay, and he wanted to regress me to childhood, and then he was violent. And it was not, and of course it was intricate. Of course there were all kinds of emotions involved. I do not depersonalize the person, but of course children can't be hurt like this, and the scientific implications of that. But at the end of the day, you don't have a marker. Okay, it was the man I was sleeping with. Yeah, you don't have a marker. You don't have the type of skin, the gender, the really, like, none of these things are markers that can make or break a situation. Are we prejudiced to fear more a big bulky man walking in the street, although he could be the kindest man? If you're walking in the dark in the street, you see a big bulky man, walking in the street, probably would try to get space, although this could be the person who will protect you if anything happens to you. And it can be this, like tiny person that is quick like the fire and whatnot, that can actually also protect you, but can also be the other way around. And so we don't really have markers, and yet we all have prejudice. Okay, we all have prejudice. Do I feel safe walking into an only man village? Probably not. Maybe they will respect me the most, but probably I don't feel safe to do so. Um, does that mean that women can hurt me less? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And this is something that we need to remember also when it comes to skin colors, when it comes to lineages, when it comes to ancestries. If what is the essence? Do we want to live a good life? Okay, what is this good life consisting of? And allow Pluto to take its course, because if you set an intention, I want to live a good life, then in as much as your chart allows, that can be manifested. And with magic, there may be even more things allowed than you could possibly imagine. Okay, before I was doing astrology videos, I was doing these manifestation tricks. And at the time, I noticed there are certain things that are more difficult to manifest. So maybe these things are related to Saturn, for example. And Saturn takes longer to manifest. So if your relationships, let's say, have Venus opposition Saturn, okay? So relations take longer to manifest. It makes sense because Saturn matures only in 36 or something. And there I am, almost 40 and single, okay? So it doesn't matter. But the thing is that, yes, manifestation works, and astrology gives us timing windows that can work with it. And astrological magic or magic gives us even beyond those things, or things that we didn't think are possible with our chart, with the help of other charts, which is the talismans that we make or the people that we meet. Okay, this is why people are connected to each other, because we are like talismans to each other and we make magic together. Okay, and it's important for this magic to be benefic. So this is my calling, and it's really important for me that we will do the right things with what we came here to do. And it's not about, yes, perhaps what I was channeling, that the oceans need the tears of the widows from the land of the pale. Yes, perhaps it entails that some people, white countries, maybe Britain, maybe the United States, will have perils. Maybe this is the spirit of the time. But also, it's not the essence of what has to be. Okay? And we need to remember the what has to be. Because to fall into hatred is human, but whenever we have a window of opportunity to emphasize on genuinely the instinct to do good, okay, and apply that instinct, then we need to have bigger windows of opportunities and to have structures that allow for better choices in life, for more people. Okay, the whole decentralization, if we go 300 years ago, the process of democratization, which was 300 years old. Okay, since the French Revolution, it took 300 years until there was democracy in France. We need to remember that as well. But the understanding, first of all, that democracy, women could not vote. Okay, Charles Montesquieu did not even conceive of women voting because he didn't see it. It's like you would think, oh, my cat will be voting, but it's like, but what does my cat know about political life? And one day we have the ability to communicate with cats, and the cats are like, I see your habits, I see your daily habits, I see why you don't have food for me, I see why you do have food for me when you do, I see when you are tired, I see so much about you, and of course I know. And it affects me too because it affects how I feel in your house. If you are sad, I am sad. If you are don't have the best food to bring to me, then I don't eat the best and I don't think the best. Okay, so our pets could be getting right to vote. Women were seen as pets. Women were seen as something that you grow, that is a part of you, and it is not, for some it was not even your possession um, because a woman was considered so much a part of the man. Okay, so there was not even division, and that consisted for a situation where women were not seen because they were seen as a part of the man, and their wishes, their desire were not seen as separate, and seen as a separate created conflict. Okay, even as the simple as, I want to have sex. Well, I don't feel like having sex. Are you not attracted to me? No, I'm just tired. Maybe you are tired because you don't like me. And all these things, that all these conversations that men did not have to have with a woman before we began to see women as autonomous. Um, so there's a sense of connection, of course, and when you do hear stories even about penis not being erect because it senses that the vagina is not ready and that the person with the vagina is not ready. But that doesn't mean that an erect penis means a ready vagina, and that is also one of the things when we value consent. It's also one of the things that we begin to look at and change our behavior accordingly. This is essential differences. It's not pussy, vagina, skin, religion, sexual, none of that. Um, and so I really wish that we would honor this essence and that we will remind ourselves of this essence, so that we are actually doing the instinct to do, we're actually applying the instinct to do good, because we can. And this is, like I said, yes, we have a lot of transits. Yes, we have the Pluto Aries square that will lead to the Pluto Aries trine, which is actually has been more destructive in terms of humanity than even the square. And thanks Dan Waits for that. You can watch Dan Waits on Pluto and Aries in mundane astrology. And yeah, that exists. And we also have another knowledge that is a certain cycle of transition of 300 years of transition towards the Aquarian age. And some people say we are actually nearing a golden age. So there can be ideation of this golden age, but yes, and then there's also the fear that, oh, we're just reiterating things that were said during the World War, and oh, I'm gonna post it on a Mars. I wanted to post it on a Jupiter hour, but it's gonna be on a Mars hour. And maybe if I do it just now, I'll try to do it just now.